Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm working on an art journal layout for the Take 5 art, which is a collaboration between a whole lot of ladies, all started by Kyra from Simply Creative Kyra. This is me participating in the February prompts and I'm really excited to get to this. I will be doing these prompts every other month, which will coincide with my free month from my creative team duties. So I'm really excited about this one, and I'm sorry to be starting so late. I thought that I had pressed record and then looked up about 5 minutes later and realized that I hadn't. So we've missed the total intro of all the prompts that I will be using. So I'm just going to put them up on the screen for you to have a look at now. I started off first with this gorgeous napkin, which came to me in a swap. I think, Carrie, I think you're the one that sent me this. This is totally your style. And I did hoard the napkin. I think you wrapped your pocket letter in this, and I hoarded your napkin because it is going to be used in today's art journal layout. I didn't know this last year, but I love how keeping all those things always come back. Total hoarder here. So yes, so I used this black and white napkin. So lucky for me, this takes care of both the prompts, which are apply a napkin or tissue paper and add a butterfly or dragonfly. I have no dragonflies in my collection, so it had to be a butterfly. I am using Mod Podge to apply the napkin. This is going straight onto watercolor paper I have not gessoed yet. I thought it would be a good idea to just add the tissue paper first and then gesso on top of that. Incidentally, I made this watercolor journal. I have a tutorial that shows you how I made this if you're interested in making one yourself. I used watercolor paper because this year I want to do a whole lot of art journal layouts and yeah, wanted to make my own journal. So check that out. The next thing I do is I grab some gesso and I'm just reseating some of the bold black patterns into the background. So I don't want them to be so prominent in the layout, but I do want them there as a faint presence in the background. And make sure that I dab some of the excess from the butterfly. I want that to be sort of bold. It's going to be one of the focal points in my layout, so I accidentally had covered that up. The next prompt is to apply paint with a credit card, and I do so here with white paint. Now, I interpreted this prompt to be a black and white journal layout prompt. I have since seen some of the other girls apply other colors, and that's fine with me, but I thought that we could only use black and white and all shades in between, as in grays, not every other color. So I only used black and white on this spread. So I reserved the card, the application of white paint for the card, and the application of the bubble wrap for the black. The next thing I decided to go into my stash and look for something that I could use alongside this butterfly in this layout. So I thought it would be lovely to incorporate this spellbinder fairy, so I cut her out of black cardstock. And at this stage I'm thinking, well, perhaps it's like a little fairy garden where you've got butterflies and fairies. So that kind of gave me a direction to head towards. Here comes the black paint now, and what I'm doing is I'm deciding to brayer it to make a really, really thin layer, and then I'm going to add this bubble wrap, and I'm going to make maybe bubble wrap border around this layout. I really love how this turns out. Second and third generation stamps are good here because it's not so bold. And because I have a lot of paint left over, I just thought I would add some more markings with my card. I bring in this arrow stencil and I use my cool graphite ink pad by Ranger, and I'm just adding some more elements into the background. I love this color. It is so subtle, but it adds so much texture to the background. I also have the stencil by Craft using the same gray color, and I'm going to add some leaves to the background as well. I then take some of that paint and I just apply it to the butterfly, making it more bold and more of a focal image. And I do lose some of the empty spaces in the process, but that's okay. I bring in some gesso now, and I'm just applying some bubble wrap pattern on top of the previous bubble wrap black pattern, just to make it more grungy. And at this stage, I adore this layout. Okay, back in with my fairy die cut now. I decide that she is going to go right about there, and I adhere her with PVA glue using my fine tip applicator. I then decide to add Mod Podge with my finger just on top to make sure she is down well. There are a lot of little delicate bits like her wings and her hands that get bent down a lot, and so I just wanted her to be secure. I'm now thinking about a sentiment, and so I go through some of these journaling cards, and I find too, I don't like the sentiment on the first one because I do believe that we are fated, and no matter what we do, we can't escape our fate. But I do love the look of this pretty girl looking out, and I love that the journaling card says always look forward, so I know straight away that that is going to be my sentiment for this layout. I then thought that I'd love some more butterflies in the layout, and I take out my butterflies and die cut some out of book pages, which stays in line with my black and white layout theme. I play around here trying to think of a way to present this, and I shuffle things around for a little while before I decide what I want to do. Now it's time to think about my sentiment. I don't want to stamp on the surface because the tissue paper and the gesso has made it really bumpy, so I will never get a perfect impression. I have these thin alpha stickers by Heidi Swap. They're in a sparkly teal color, and I think that maybe I'll be able to paint them black. So I give it a go, and it works really well. So I just go with it. So I'm just gonna leave you now to see how I put that together. As I'm watching myself now, I wonder why I left that space between the look and forward, and I do go back later and have to fill it in with something. It's funny how you watch yourself making art and making mistakes. So I go back to trying to place my butterflies now, and I know that one will definitely go on top of the napkin butterfly, and then I do a trio of butterflies up at the top there. I have this set of Tim Holtz wildflowers, which I die cut out of black cardstock, and what I do now is I try to put them all around the layout to make it look like this is a little garden, and deep within all the flowers and the leaves you'll be able to find little butterflies and little fairies. I then go over everything with a thin layer of Mod Podge to seal everything down. Finishing touches now, and I'm using my small script stamp. I've got black soot in distress ink, and I'm just putting it all around in an haphazard formation, and then I go back and repeat the same thing with picket fence, and I add white to black areas, whereas before I was adding black to white areas. I do go on top of the black of the sentiment, I don't mind, and the black of the wildflowers, I don't mind that either. The last thing, and I know this breaks from my black and white theme, but I really needed a pop of a little bit of color. So I decided to use my Heidi Swap Shine Gold, and I just flick it all over the place. And wherever it lands, it lands. I don't mind. It even lands like right underneath her eye. I don't mind that at all either. As always, the next day when I go back in to look at my artwork, I find two things that bother me. Number one, she seems to disappear into the white background, so I needed to edge her a little bit. So I decided to use my Carbothello water-soluble pencils, and I'm just going around her face, and then I'm using a wet paintbrush to smooth it all out and dissolve it into the background. I'm then deciding to put a little bit of pink cheeks, and I know again it's supposed to be a black and white layout, but I really can't help myself. I try to smudge off as much as I can. Last of all is that space between look and forward. I find this wood veneer that is coated in like a white enamel, and I decide that it's perfect. So I'm gonna place it right under the look so that you use your glasses to look forward. And this is my layout for the Take 5 Art Challenge. Thank you so much for joining me, everybody. Go ahead and check out some of the other art journal layouts that the ladies have produced this year. They're so different. I love them all. It's so interesting to watch how we all have different styles with the same 5 prompts that we use. Have a great day, and I'll see you in my next video.